The Makor for what's brought in Shulchan Aruch of having SIMANIM Leil Rosh Hashanah is a Gemara in two places. A Gemara in Hoirius and a Gemara in Krisis. The Gemara says in Krisis Tavav, Omer Abaya, Hashta da Amrit SIMANIM Milsa. The Gemara before speaks about SIMANIM Milsa. To make a siman about something, Zok the Gemara, Yehi Rogel Inish Lemechal. A person should be rogel. We'll see soon what rogel is, but a person should be rogel to eat Reish Shata in the beginning of the year. And the Gemara says 5 SIMANIM. The 5 SIMANIM Kara, which is pumpkin, yellow squash, Ruvia is black-eyed peas, Karti, leek, Silka, spinach, beets, different, the two of them. And then the Gemara says Tamri dates. So the Gemara says because of SIMANIM Milsa, one should eat these 5 SIMANIM. The Gemara in Hoirius, Daf Yud Bais, same Gemara, but over there the Gemara says Lo Oilam, again Amar Abai Hashad Amrit SIMANIM Milsa. The Gemara Lo Oilam Yehi Rogel Lemechsei. Lemechse is to look at it, to see it. So it's interesting. The first Gemara says to eat the SIMANIM Beresh Shata Rosh Hashanah, the first day of the year. And the other Gemara, the Gemara in Hoirius says Lemechse, to look at it. So is it to eat or to look? So the Chaim says that really, if somebody doesn't like the SIMANIM, which that could be many times the case, you don't want to eat it, you can't eat it, you're allergic. Or even more, sometimes, especially from these SIMANIM, the spinach has bugs in it, and you can't eat it, and you shouldn't eat it, you're not allowed to eat it. So then you look at it, and as we'll see soon, you misparul, you say the yiratzin. So these two Gemaras, one Gemara says to eat it, one Gemara says to look at it. You could look at it, at kedekach. The Chaim says you could be mispalel. We'll soon explain what this Yehiratzin is all about. But you could be mispalel even if you have no SIMANIM. That we should have Shana Tayvim Mesuka, Shiyatamu Sainenu, even if you don't have it. I usually get to Shaila almost on a yearly basis. What's about having other SIMANIM? To eat live cereal and have, the Yehiratzin. So the Chaim says even if you don't have the SIMANIM at all, you could be mispalel. But we'll soon see what minim yes and what minim not. So we see the Makor. The Makor for the SIMANIM Leil Rosh Hashanah is not just something that people do. The Gemara brings about it. What's the reason for the SIMANIM? So these different reasons in the Achroinim. The Chai Adam says, based on the Ramban, it's also Maral. The Ramban in Lech Lecha says that, and he says that's what you see by the Nevi'im, when they got a Nevi'is of something, a Nevuah, for a Dover Toiv, they tried to put it el apoyel. Because once it happens, once the thing happened already, there's no chazara on the Nevi'is. The ilakach, Rosh Hashanah by night, it's not yet, the psak doesn't happen yet till the morning, but we want to do something el hapoyel. Look at it, have it, be maspavol, eat, have sweet, Shiur, Zuchu Yasenu, Karimain, the different SIMANIM. We want to do it al apoyel, Zok Chai Adam, that's why we have SIMANIM, Leil Rosh Hashanah. Another reason, the Shla says, the reason why we put it on the table, we eat it, we put it on the table, the ikar is to be maspavol. To be ma'orer, to be maspavol for a good year. It's not so much like the Chai Adam says, it's to have bepoil the food there, but rather it's a heichatimtza to bring a person to be mispal. That's reason number 2. To be mispal, all the yiratzins that we say to be mispal. A third reason, the Chachma Shloima says on Shulchan Aruch, the reason why we have SIMANIM is bedoima, more bedoima, like the first reason, like the Chai Adam, that it's to bring a person to emunah and betochen, to believe that he's going to have a good year, a sweet year, a year full of zechuyos. Bedoima to the Chai Adam, that he says to have it al apoyel, to bring a person to emunah. The Shlach says it's more, the ikar of the SIMANIM is what we do, mispalel the rotzen of it. So 3 different reasons why we have Simanim Leil Rosh Hashanah. Reason number 1 is El Apoyol, to try to bring out the psak of a good year for the morning. Reason number 2 says the Shlah, that it's to be ma'oyer a person, to put a person in the mode for Rosh Hashanah to be mispalel. And reason number 3 is to be ma'oyer a person, emunah and betachen, that he's going to have a sweet year. Like we eat a Suda, Matziyam Kippur, Laharos, with Smeichim, and Betuchim. The Gemara doesn't say anything about saying a Yehi Ratzon. The Gemara says, that was the whole Gemara, I read the Lashon in both places. Amar Abaya, because of Simanim Ilsa, Yehi Rogol, either to eat or to see, to have it on the table. What's about the Yehi Ratzon? So there's a machlokes rishonim about it. The Makoyer, the Torah is speaking about dipping the apple in the honey, which we'll get to soon. So far we didn't see anything about it. The Gemara doesn't say anything about it. But the Torah says, when you dip the apple in the honey, you say Yiratzen. Zok the Bais Yosef from the Rabbeinu Hai Goyin, that by all the Simanim, you say the Yiratzen. All the Simanim of the Gemara, Ruvia, all of those, you say Yiratzen. So we have a machlokes rishonim, clearly a machlokes rishonim if you say Yiratzen or not. Machlokes rishonim. It could be the machlokes if you say the Yiratzen, the tefillah, the bakasha, when you eat the simanim, when you look at it, is mitla talui in the reasons. If the reason why we have simanim, what's the reason why we have simanim? If the reason is like the Chai Adam to bring it al apoyol, or for emunah betachen, so then you don't really have to say the Yiratzen. But if the reason is not the reason, like the Shlah says, to be ma'oyer a person to be maspalel, then of course you say the Yiratzen. The whole idea of having the simanim, eating it or seeing it, is to be maspalel. So it could be the machlokes rishonim if you say Yiratzen or not is mitla tali, and the reason why we have simanim.
Where the mispalo is not then during the suda, it's a shul. The Yiratzen is just a wish. It's not really a tefillah.
Oh, very good. We'll get to that. Some takas say that al karchach it's not a tefillah. Taka left it. I think the Chacham Shloimeh says that. The Chacham Shloimeh says exactly that. Very good, Yankee. The Chacham Shloimeh says al karchach it's not a tefillah because the time to be mispal is not during you eat. Exactly like you're saying. We're mispal by shul. We're not mispal during the suda. That's what the Chacham Shloimeh says. Meili says al karchach it's not for tefillah. It's for amunah b'tachin.
It puts ideas in a person's head to done for them.
No. So really, you're saying even in the shlo, you're saying it's lav dafka that you need to mispalo. Then could be it's mispalo later.
No, if it's inspired a person to mispalo, it puts ideas in his head.
So the shlo says that's what. It's not just that we eat the simanim because we eat it. Lafira chachma shleima, we eat it because to bring a person in his head amunah b'tachin. So you don't have to mispalo. It's not about the tefillah. We're not mispalo during we eat. Lafira shla, the reason why we eating the why we eat the simanim, or why we look at the simanim, is to ma'orer. So pashas, it's to be ma'orer for tefillah during right then and there. You're saying even the shla, is that what you're saying? Am I understanding correctly? Even the shla would agree that could be you don't have to mispal, to ma'orer to mispal tomorrow for a good year. What's this tefillah? Regardless of the reasons. Lamaisa, we're noig, we say the Yiratzen. What is the tefillah? What are we being mispal? We're being mispal. What are we being mispal? So the Meiri says that the tefillah is a tefillah, even sheyatamu saynenu. We're not being mispal that the goyim should die. Sheyatamu saynenu is up the Meiri. It's our saynim. Who's our saynim? Our averis. In other words, he says that this tefillah that we're being maspalo is a tefillah. What type of tefillah is it? It's a tefillah of tshuva. It's a tefillah of tshuva. All the Yiratzins that we're saying is all about being misoyer, not just to daven, it's oyer for tshuva. The Sfas Emes asks a shaila. The Sfas Emes asks, how is it that we mispalel Rosh Hashanah by night? We say the Ratzains, we should have a good year, a sweet year, a happy year. Rosh Hashanah, you're not supposed to daven for yourself. We're mamluch the Eibishter. How is it that we're mispalel, that we're being mispalel for, we're davening for ourselves? So Lefi the Meiri, it's very geschmack, because the Meiri says even what we're being mispalel is tshuva. The Sfas Emes himself says a different teretz. He says it's more b'havalah, it's derech remez. We're not openly being mispalel, we're eating the things, it's a remez. In other words, it's not like we're getting up by davening and we're being mispalel directly to give us parnasa. It's really what we're being, it's derech remez in what we're saying the Yiratzah. So we have over here, the Gemara says 5 minim, what we use the SIMANIM, and we saw a few reasons for the SIMANIM. We see machlokes rishonim, if you say the Yiratzon, Lamaisa we say the Yiratzon. Do you say the Shem Hashem? What does the Olam know? Yiratzon Mofanecha? Do you say Hashem Elokeinu v'Lekei Avosseinu? Do you say the Eibishter's name? So either way you do is right, because it's a machlokes, a clear machlokes. The Shulchan Aruch, when the Shulchan Aruch brings, in Siman Taf Kuf Pei Gimel, the Shulchan Aruch brings the SIMANIM, Yehi Rogel Adam Lecho B'Rosh Hashanah, brings a different minim SIMANIM. Ukesheyoichel Ruvia Yoimar Yiratzon Shiur B'Zuchu Yaseinu. He doesn't say Hashem Elokeinu v'Lekei Avosseinu. The Shulchan Aruch Harav also, when he brings it, does not say Hashem Elokeinu v'Lekei Avosseinu. Not to say it. The Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. Lamaisa, the Mishnah Brura, when he brings it, the Mishnah Brura says in Sivkot and Bais Yiratzon, so he says Yiratzon Milfanecha Hashem Elokeinu v'Lekei Avosseinu Shiur B'Zuchu Yaseinu. He puts it in Shartzin, it brings the Makoros for it. So we have a machlokes if you say the Shem Hashem. It's interesting, some only say the Shem Hashem by the SIMANIM that the Gemara brings. We didn't get yet to the other SIMANIM, but only what the Gemara brings, which is interesting. Many don't even do what the Gemara brings. Those interesting SIMANIM you could buy in the store, such a tray, we'll see the Seder of it. But some, the Matafraim brings that only the SIMANIM that the Gemara brings, these Ruvia and Karti, that's where you say the Shem Hashem. So we have over here 5 SIMANIM that the Gemara brings. Ruvia, I said the types of black-eyed peas, leek, beets, dates, those are all the Gemara. There are a few others that are mentioned in the Rishonim. I don't think I'm listing all, I think there are more. I looked in the Nuta Gavriel, brings other different minhagim. So if I left out any, you can mention if you have any others. But these are, so to speak, I would call it the standard. Brought in the Rishonim. The Tur brings B'Shem the Go'onim, dipping an apple in the honey. It's interesting, the Lashon is Tapuach Mosuk B'Dvash. Is it a sweet apple B'Dvash, or Mosuk means Mosuk B'Dvash? In other words, the honey is sweet. Do you have to have a sweet apple? Could you have like a little bit of a kind of a sharp apple? These many, many different apples. Do you have to? Is the minik to have a sweet apple? The Lashon is Tapuach Mosuk B'Dvash. Is it Tapuach Mosuk, or it's Tapuach Mosuk B'Dvash? Lashon HaShulchan Aruch Harav is Tapuach Mosuk, a sweet apple, Mitrubo B'Dvash. So it's a sweet apple.
It's not a sweet apple. What's the point of the apple? It's a banana.
You're asking, I wasn't going to go into it, I'm still not going to go into it, but there's many reasons why we have an apple, and it's a pi Kabbalah, and there's a pasuk by Yitzchak, these psukim about it, there's a whole biragra, and the Goyen says that the story of Birchas Yaakov, with Yitzchak, with the Esav taking the brachas, that happened Rosh Hashanah. And with psukim, and there was an apple over there, we're being meramas for that apple. B'doimet, by the shofar, which certain things it's brought that it's merumis, that we want to try to prove that we get the Birchas Yaakov. But Akapalim, that's the reason for an apple. it's a Kabbalah, and I don't know. And as we'll get to in the Seder, some start with the apple before the Shiva SIMANIM, but that's in the apple Shabbai. But we dip it into honey to have a sweet ear. So be'etzem, it's not relevant after to have a sweet. I don't know if we take an apple because an apple's be'etzem sweet. Another siman, another l'siman toiv, the Bais Yosef b'shem de Mordcha, is to have a remind. Shiur b'zuchu yaseinu k'remind. The Shulchan Aruch brings to have basar, shamen, uminim esika, sweet things. Maybe minim esika means now to have candy and nash. The Torah brings b'shem de Gaonim to have a rosh keves. And a rosh keves is what? Zecher le'eloi shel Yitzchak that was bekeves. Could you get in the store rosh keves? Yeah. A little piece, so you could buy a jar. Brought in the Rishonim. But Lamaisa, the Mishabura says, if you can't get a rosh keves, so then you can bring a rosh of a behema cheres or rosh oif. It's interesting, he doesn't even say what we be'ikr do the head of a fish. But it's all the concept is to have shenil rosh v'lo l'zanav, not brought till later. And then b'chlal we eat dogim, fish, and we have shenifra v'nirba kadogim. So this is the list of SIMANIM. If it may be more, everyone with their minig. The Bach asks the following question. Some of the SIMANIM that we eat were maspalul sheyatamu sainenu. Some were maspalul for us, that we should nifra v'nirba kadagim. Some were maspalul that the goyim sheyatamu sainenu, the soinim, should die. Frek the Bach, oibazoi, why can't we have any food we want? For example, chrein. You do eat chrein, you don't eat chrein because it's sharp. Some people have a hard time. Pickles, chaimitz. Why can't we eat that and fakert? When we eat the chrein, we'll be mispaled. Why not? Because we don't want to have a sharpie. So the soinim should have a sharpie. As they frek the Bach. Why can't you eat the SIMANIM, the things that we don't eat, and we mispaled on the soinim, just like b'doimet tishi tamu sainenu, as they frek the Bach. Enfet Rabbi Yaakov Emden in the Siddur Amudei Hashamayim, and he says the following. He says the first thing is you have to eat a good food. In other words, you need two qualifications in the SIMANIM. Number one, it's a good food, and besides that, it's a good food, it also has to be meramas on something. So Mela, the first thing is it's a davar toiv, a davar meichel toiv, a geschmacka food. Because that itself is something that's mo'or for a good year, a good food. On top of that, it also has to be, besides a good food, something that you can mispal for. So memela, something that's not a good food, something that's a sharp food, we don't eat.
Someone at the table doesn't like to put much of it.
They should look at it and they should say the Yiratza that way. Maybe without the Shem Hashem, maybe, because if part of it is only for the tefillah, maybe without the Shem Hashem, but Pashtus, like the Chaim says, Pashtus, even if there's no SIMANIM, you could also be Maspawel. Kedavat to the Eibishter. Like the Chaim says, there's no shail of bracha of atala. Bracha, it's a shail of bracha of atala if it's not the right bracha, if you're not mechuyev. To Maspawel to the Eibishter, you could always be Maspawel.
Can a person just say the Yerushim without Hashem's name and without those things? He has like one of these ogres and he's just saying all those things.
Yes, he could. Definitely. Avada. Shenifra v'nirba kadagim. Avada. You could even be Mekayim a mitzvah, Mekayim a mitzvah of tefillah day, right? Avada, you could say it. Avada. Could be, you could even say it with the Shem Hashem, but without the Shem Hashem, you can mispal. Avada. Shenifra and forget about the simon. You're being mispal. If it's even oirer for a person to be mispal. So Rabbi, you got to be mispal even without the simon.
According to the Sfas Emes, who
says that it's a remes.
Right. So his question was, how do you down for yourself? He said the answer was because it's a remes. Maybe it's only remes if you're doing simon.
I hear. It's a good point what you're saying. Then if the remes is only while you're eating it, it's tucked in.
Right.
The question is if you don't.
I don't really. The emes is I don't.
Can you make the not if he doesn't need it. You can't just say it. It's not because Gemara is too late.
The lakach meramzim al tzarcha ilam hazeh. The emes is that I try to properly understand it. Why is it taka a remes? The lakach meramzim al tzarcha ilam hazeh. L'maisa, you're being mispalel straight up. The tefillah is a klar tefillah. What's the remes? So that b'chlal you have to understand properly, clearly what he means that it's a remes. But you say maybe it's only b'tzirif to eating it or seeing it. Now we'll go into the bracha part. You make a bracha. Ha'etz and ha'dama, because it's not part of the Suda. On the fruits you make ha'etz and one ha'etz, and on the vegetables, leek and all those that the Gemara brings besides the last, you make ha'dama. And then mela, if you can eat fruit again at the end of the Suda, you'll make another ha'etz. You don't make ha'etz, because you already made ha'etz on something that's not part of the Suda. Being that you make a bracha, Zok the Magen Avram, you make the bracha, you have to eat a little bit, and then you'll say the Yiratzen. Because if not, it's a hefsek. Let's say you're going to make a eitz on the apple. We'll soon see what you make the eitz on, but let's say you make a eitz on the apple, that's the minig of Roi V'olam. You make a eitz, and then you want to say Shana Tova Mesuka. So first you have to bite and eat a little bit of the apple, and then you say the Yiratzen, and then you continue eating. That's what the Magen Avram says. He brings Cholkim, the Maglei Tzedek says that it's not a hefsek, and I'm not going to go into it. He brings Zerayah, some other places. You can make a bracha, Leisha Basukah, other Tziyurim, by Shchita, that it's not a hefsek because it's considered a Tzorech. And you could say the Ratzin before. L'maisa, the Magen Avram says, not to. You should eat before. Hamiyu, what comes out, Be'etzim, you should say the Yiratzah before. And Memela what? Memela comes out like this. Memela, if let's say by the second fruit that you're eating, you already made eight, now you're holding by the Rimoin, so before you eat the Rimoin, you should say Yiratzah. It's only the first, when you make a bracha, you can't be mafsek. And Lamaisa, that's taka the din. The Mishnah Berurah brings the halacha that you should eat a little bit, and then say the Yiratzah. Hamiyu, if let's say you forgot, you made boyer priya eitz, you made boyer priya adam, and you said the Yiratzin, zokte el yirab, zokte mata frayim, that it's not a hefsek.
What is it silent? You say the Yiratzin before you eat it, or?
So the answer, l'chayra, pretty clearly is, it depends if it's what you're making a bracha on, you have to bite into it a little bit, and then say the Yiratzin, and then continue, yoichel ma'at, like the Magen Avram Mishabura. But anything else that you already made the bracha on, so over there you must spowel. You already made a eitz, so now the next fruit that you're eating, say the Yiratzah, and then you eat it. What's the seder? The seder of eating the SIMANIM, not so clear. If you have those different booklets and pamphlets, you'll see different ways, different mahalchim. The pashtus, you go to say the brachas, ha'etz, and then adama. And in ha'etz itself, you really go first, what's that, the kedim and brachas we learned last man? You make on the Shiva Saminim first. So the Mela, like the Gemara brings, that you eat tamarim, so you make on the tamarim first, and then after the tamarim you go to the other ha'etz, and when you finished, after you finish, continue go ha'etz, and you go to adama. Lamaisa, there are many, I don't know if it's hard to say Roi V'olam, but there are many that make the ha'etz on the apple. That's the first siman that they do. Some, because of that, don't bring out the Shiva Saminim on the table till after they make ha'etz on the apple. I think it's a Kabbalah to start with the apple, but Lamaisi is supposed to make a ha'etz on the Shiva Saminim, so they bring it out later. That's ha'etz and then adama. Mi'idoch, the Kloisenberger Rebbe, he has a tshuva divrei Yatsev. He was noyig to go up his seder of the Gemara, which, even though interesting, the Gemara itself also brings ha'etz, But he says first we do the SIMANIM of the Gemara, and then we bring the SIMANIM of the Rishonim. We eat the Rishonim, the one the Rishonim say. And mainly he used to start first with these interesting ones, the Hadama, and then Ha'etz. You're supposed to make Ha'etz and then Hadama. He didn't bring it out, very good. And even in Ha'etz itself, also the same thing. He started with the apple, and then he brought out the Shiva Saminim.
Did the two Gemaras bring the SIMANIM in the same order?
Yes. Well asked, and I made sure to check, and that was very interesting. If that was changed, I think mamish the only chiluk literally is only between to see it or to eat it. When do you eat a SIMANIM? Roiv eat a SIMANIM after Hamoitzi. Roiv eat a SIMANIM after Hamoitzi. This is mashma from the Tur, the Moshe, the Taz. However, the Arizal, and it's brought in the Ktsei Amata, and others, maybe to do it right after Kiddush. But the Iker is, people do it after Hamoitzi. Shlomo Zalman explains why it's not a hefsek between Kiddush and Hamoitzi. The minig and vision it actually is not even to do it not by Kiddush, not by Hamoitzi. Wherever it comes up, that's where they do it. By the main, if they have the carrots, they say that Yiratza. By dessert, these other SIMANIM, to do it over there. But Pashtus, the Rova Olam does it after Hamoitzi. Just real quickly to two more pointers. Rogel. The Gemara says that a person should be rogel to do it. Regilus means 3 times. So some say to do the SIMANIM all 4 Sudas. All 4 Sudas to do the SIMANIM. It's actually brought in the Matafraim. The Matafraim says that if you want, you could do by day also. Not a chiyuv. But this is a nice thing, but often if your kids learned in playgroup in the younger grades about the SIMANIM, and they went to sleep by night till you come home a long Ma'ariv, you can do it by day, but it's not stam, to do it to show. That's also a fine azach, but to do it. So some takas say it's the Ben Ishchai in 2 places, say in the Ben Yehuda and also in Ben Ishchai Pashas. That Tzavmi says to do the SIMANIM by night. To do the SIMANIM by, you could do it, you should do it all 4. However, the Mishnah Halachas, he brings this and he's match, he says Rogel doesn't mean, it could be taka more than 3 times, that Rogel means every year to do it. And Memela B'etzim only to do it by night, but both nights, most people do it both nights, the Mate Ephraim and others. There are those that only do it the first night. They explain the reason is because we're being maspawel for, let's say, Shana Tova Mesuka, just like we don't say Lashana Tova, we don't say the second night because there are those that had already a psak the first day. So Mamela, he was only noyik to do the SIMANIM only the first night, not the second night. The Idach and Bnei Saschar.
How can you have a psak on the first day?
I want to just finish it, then afterwards, please, I want to hear. B'meila only, but most Rova Olam is to do both nights. Reb Chaim Kinevsky did both, but he just didn't say that he rots in the second night. Reb Shlomo Zalman did both, but he didn't make such an asik of it the second night. But Lamaisa, the minig is to do both nights. Just to be Messiah, one of the Talmidim of the Chavetz Chaim ate Rosh Hashanah by the Chavetz Chaim. And he said, the Chavetz Chaim said, Avada, we have all these SIMANIM, l'simin toiv, but he says, ein l'cha simin toiv, for a person to stay calm Rosh Hashanah, for a person to be nice to people Rosh Hashanah, to give a smile, the lashon he brings. That's ein l'cha simin toiv gadol mizeh. Avada, we do all these things for SIMANIM, and like the Mishnah Brura brings over here, Sivkat and Hey, the Chavetz Chaim, which is Yartzai, was this Wednesday. He says, "V'hine kol elu anyanim oisem akoy l'simin toiv, ulechein pshita sheyizor ma'oid shelayichos b'yamo ma'elu, not to get mad, levad goydel iser, should be a simin toiv. We should all be zoicha for the simin toiv, for a ksiva v'chasima toiv, a good gebenched yar."
Mr. Bruce says you say Hashem's name, no?
Yes.